It's time to yap books, and this week we are yapping about my March reading wrap up. March was a interesting month for me. I had a book that I read in one day, and I also had a book that took me the entire month to read. So let's chat books and let's get right into my March reading wrap up. Hi my friends, welcome to my channel. I'm so excited you're here with me today. As I said, March was a very interesting month for me. It is one of the longer months, and yet I read more books in February, which is literally the shortest month of the year. This month was a weird one as I went through a bunch of mini reading slumps. Now, I call them mini because what would happen is I would go 3 to 4 days where I would have absolutely no desire and no energy to pick up or read a book, and then I would kind of force myself to start reading, and I'd get really into it and I'd be super into it for like a few days. I'd be super happy, and then bam, another mini reading slump would hit, and we would just repeat it over and over all month long. Because of this chaos, I managed to finish 5 books in March. We have romance, we have fantasy, we have fiction, mystery, we have nonfiction. So, getting right into book 1, we have The Night Prince by Lauren Pufferman. This is a fantasy romance, so a romantasy book, and it is the second in a series. It is the Wolf King series. Book number 1 is, of course, The Wolf King. As I said, this is second in a series, so I'm not going to tell you much about this book, but I will give you a quick synopsis of this one. This book follows our female main character. She is a human princess, and in this world there are werewolves, and the humans and werewolves are at war, and at the beginning of the book, she is betrothed to marry this terrible man, and during a dog fight, which is a werewolf fight, she ends up saving a wolf pup, and this catches the eye of the alpha of the wolf clan, and then she ends up getting kidnapped and taken away to the wolf world, and a lot of things start to transpire. She goes on a whole journey there. There's romance, there's politics, there's so much to it. So this is a direct continuation of the story. It is book number 2, and I love this book. I love this book even more than book number 1 because you know the characters more and you get into it more. You get more of like the love and like the different kind of like light, very light love triangle. It is spicy. There is spice in this book. I give it like a 3.5 out of 5 peppers, and yeah, I loved it. I ended up rating this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I flew through it. It's going to be a trilogy, so book number 3 is coming out, I believe, September. So be prepared for that. I absolutely love this. So the first book I read in March was The Night Prince, and loved it. Started off the month so strong. Wanting to continue this really strong reading streak, I decided to keep going with the series that I was in the middle with, different series of course, and I picked up Caught Up by Liz Townforte. This is book number 3 in the Windy City series. The Windy City series is a sports romance series. It follows men who are professional sports players in the city of Chicago, and it follows women who do various jobs, and they are spicy and they are like contemporary. They're rom-coms. They're so fun. Book number 1 is Mile High. Book number 2 is The Right Move. I read these in like February, so I figured I had to pick up book number 3 in March, which I said again was Caught Up. This one follows a baseball player, so he's the first like baseball player in this series, and it follows Kai. He is a pitcher for the Chicago's baseball team, and he's also a single father. It also follows Miller. She is a very high-end professional pastry chef who has hit a bit of a law, a bit of a roadblock in her career, a bit of a, what's it called? I can't think of the word. Literally, when you can't do your job. You're in a slump, you're in a lull. What is it called? Like writer's block. She has like basically baker's block. Basically, she like has a block in her career, and she is the daughter of the coach for the baseball team. So her dad says, hey, our pitcher needs a nanny for the summer. You need a bit of a break from your job. How about you come, you travel with us, you spend time with Daddy-O, and you nanny for our pitcher. So Kai, he hates this at first, but once he sees how good Miller is with his son, Max, he starts to warm up to her, and then he really starts to warm up to her, and I loved this book. I absolutely ate this book up. It is such a fun romance. It is a single daddy, like I said, and he is so protective of his child, and I'm not even a child person. Like, I'm not someone who wants kids, but I somehow ate up the whole single daddy trope in this. It was just so good. It was done so well. And he just cared so much about Max. And then watching Max and Miller connect was just so sweet and so heartwarming. And I shed some tears during this book, I laughed a lot during this book, and I smiled, and I really, really loved this book. Absolutely obsessed. Gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It was so good. And since it was so good, I was like, okay, I'm eating this up. I need to keep going. I'm trying to get out of this mini slump that I was in. So I went and I picked up book number 4 in the Windy City series, which is Play Along by Liz Tom Forday. It again follows a baseball player. It actually follows Kai's brother, Isaiah. He is a shortstop on the baseball team in Chicago, and it follows Kennedy. She is the personal trainer, physical trainer. I guess she's a physical trainer. She's a physical trainer for the baseball team. She's also the only woman on the staff. And one drunken night in Vegas, they wake up the next morning and they are married. And then it turns out that they need to stay married for the entire baseball season to save her job. Now, Kennedy is pretty distraught about this because she just got out of a relationship herself. Isaiah, however, is overjoyed because he has been obsessed with Kennedy for years. So it is boy obsessed. It is marriage of accidents and convenience, and it is trauma healing. There's a great representation of anxiety and PTSD, and I just loved it. I ate it up. Isaiah is so sweet. The way he cares for her and commits to her and just wants to show her that he is more than she thinks he is. I loved him. I absolutely loved him, and I loved this book, and I gave it 4.75 out of 5 stars. It was so good. Again, it was spicy, probably about a 3 out of 5 on the spice scale, so it was spicy. I'd say both of these books were pretty good about like the slower, it's not like slow burn, but like the slower burn is that it took them a little bit longer to get into it. It's not like we were just like bam, spice. It was like we warmed up, we got to know each other, we got to like each other, we got to like each other even more, and then like things started to happen. So I really enjoyed that with both of these books, and they were just so good and loved. After that, I had a big reading slump, like a week-long reading slump. Could not touch a book, did not care. Actually, I tried to touch a book, tried to touch several books, tried to read several books. Failed. But then, the magical day happened, and I picked up Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. And it might be McConaughey, by the way, but I read this book in one day. Like, I started it at like, I don't know, 2:30, and then I finished it at like midnight. So I broke for dinner and all that kind of stuff, but I just read it and read it and read it, and it was so good, and I was so obsessed, and so good. So this book is such a fast read, obviously. It follows a family who lives on a remote island near Antarctica. They're in charge of a seed bank there. So a seed bank is a storage where they store all the seeds in the world, so in case anything ever happens we can regrow and rebuild. So they're in charge of the seed bank, and then one night during a storm a woman washes ashore, and they have all these questions. What's she doing here? How does she get here? They're in the middle of nowhere, and what does she want with them? She, on the other hand, has questions of her own, as in, where are the other people on this island? And this book is so good. It's like a fiction book, but there's mystery in it. There's a little bit of thriller. There's a lot of like found family and real family drama, not even found family, just actual family drama. And I love the remoteness of it. I love that we got some science to it and some nature to it, and we got to learn some things. I thought that was so interesting. We had like 5-6 point of views in this book, so it was so fast because you just jumped from person to person. You got to see what all these different people were thinking, and I thought that was so interesting and so fun, and I really liked it, and I love this book. But the ending bumped it down a little bit for me, because there was just something that happened, which I understand through the storyline why the author made that choice, but I would not have made that choice, and it made me a little bit upset. Because of that, I bumped it down a bit, so I ended up rating this 3.75 out of 5 stars. Still very good. A quick binge. Love this book. I do highly recommend. I recommend all the books I've read this month so far. I highly recommend this book, and I recommend this one specifically for like a very wide range of people, because I feel like so many different people could enjoy and love this book. And it is a fast read, and you don't have to read it fast, so you can take your time with it. But it has short chapters, and like I said, so many points of view, and there's characters of so many different ages, and I really liked that. So fun. Really liked this one. That was the 4th book I read in March, and I read it in a day. That's amazing. That alone just like gives a book a certain stamp. You know what I mean? Oh wow. Okay, there's the stack. And then the final book that I read in March, and this book, it took me an entire month to read this book. It actually took me longer than the entire month to read this book. I was maybe a few days into February, and I was like, no, March, just March. I was a few days into March, and I was like, girl. I was 5 days in, because I was like, I need to finish this book, and I was like, I have 26 days left in this month. Let's calculate how much I need to read to finish this by the end of the month, which is what I did. So I was like, okay, we gotta read at least 6 pages a day so we can finish this by the end of March, because I needed to get this book done, and I was slogging through it. But I wanted to read it. I could not DNF, and that is What an Owl Knows by Jennifer Ackerman. So this is a nonfiction book about owls. It basically talks about the science of owls. It talks about research of owls, what we know about them, how they live, what they eat, how they reproduce. It talks about how we get the research on them and all that fun stuff. And I love owls, okay? I love nature, and I love owls. I think they're so fun. I think they're so interested, and I was so excited to read this book because, like I said, I'm a huge fan of owls, and I wanted to learn more about them. And well, I learned more about them, and I feel like I learned so much from this book. It was very informative, it was very interesting, and I really liked it, but there was so much focus on the research and the researchers. Not like the research itself, but like the process of doing the research and the actual researchers themselves, like the people of the researchers, that it so took away from the owl of it. Like I feel like it took away so much from like me learning about the owls, because they were telling me about all these people that like great for them researching owls, but like that's not the point of this book. This point is about owls, not about the people who research owls. And it frustrated me, and it took me out of the story, and it made it hard for me to get through. And then the writing in general, it was fine, and it was scientific, but I feel like it was a dissertation, like a doctorate dissertation, that was not fully edited, and then it was thrown into a book. And it wasn't like rewritten into a way that was book friendly. It was just like, this is my dissertation, let's package it as a book. That's kind of what it felt like to me, but it was interesting, and I loved learning about the owls of it, and there was obviously clearly very well researched, and she obviously knows her stuff. But yeah, I was very disappointed with a lot of the content of it, because I wanted to be more about owls specifically, and I'm sure part of it is that we don't know as much about owls, so maybe the book would have been really thin because of that, or what. But like, it definitely it took it away from me. So because of that, I ended up rating this book 2.75 out of 5 stars. It was my lowest rated book of the month, and it's just because, like I said, all of those reasons, it took me out of it. But I do think it was an interesting book, and if you specifically like owls, or if you like learning about research or nature or that kind of stuff, I would recommend this book for you. If you're just looking for like a casual fun read, don't pick this one up. But if you are an owl or bird lover, give it a read. But yeah, that was my lowest rated book of the month, and that is the last book I read in March. So I have a book I read in one day, I had a book that took me an entire month to read, and I had several books that I loved but kind of like slogged through just because it was a rough month. But that is what it is. I am a hardcore mood reader, and as a mood reader, sometimes you just aren't in the mood to read. So oh well. But that is my March reading wrap up. I would love to know what you guys read in March. Please let me know down below in the comments, and let me know any books you're hoping to read for April. I'd love to know. I hope you guys did have a fabulous March, and I hope that April treats you guys so very, very well. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys in my next video. Live well, read lots and lots of good books, and go discover my friends. Bye! I'm so tired. Like, this is why I never read, guys. This is why the slump hits. Alright, let's go edit.